there's nothing worse. There's not an anxiety that's worse in the world than health anxiety.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I said to him, I'm not leaving here without an MRI.
Yeah. Oh, well done. This is what more patients need to do, is advocate for themselves, right?
100%. COVID for me was why I stepped away from the NHS.
Welcome to today's episode of Health Applied. We have an amazing guest with us today, Kerry Riches. Kerry is former head of patient experience for the NHS, so has worked very closely with patients, clinicians and leadership within the NHS, and can really understand what it feels like to have that patient experience. Some of you may also know her from Big Brother, where she talks very candidly and openly about living with MS. And Kerry is now very much in the public eye.
So today we go behind the scenes of patient experience at the NHS, look at what really happens to all that customer feedback that gets gathered, and why sometimes the best of intentions don't translate into patient care. So welcome, Kerry. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, ladies.
It's
Thank
amazing.
you.
And are you happy to kick off giving a bit of you've got such a colourful background, but a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Well, I started in the NHS at the age of 19. I've got
Wow.
21 years experience in the NHS,
Oh my gosh.
all in that customer service type role. It wasn't what I wanted to do when I left school. I wanted to be like an events organiser, plan weddings and do really lovely
Oh,
things.
I think you'd be great
I can
at that.
imagine you doing
That's what I
that.
wanted, right?
So much fun.
Oh, honestly. But someone happened to say to me, who owned an event, you know, we can't take you straight from school, get a little bit of experience maybe as diary management, become a PA. So I applied for my first job when I was 19 as the PA to the Director of Public Health.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I love the balls.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just thinking, if I could just get some, plan some meetings, organise some events, maybe organise some lunches, car parking, some meetings, I'll be ready after about a year or so to go and, organise someone's beautiful best day of their life. But no, actually, my world took another turn. I had my son at the age of 24 and 6 months later got multiple sclerosis.
Gosh.
And it was that moment that I just knew I would be in the NHS forever.
Wow.
Because I knew what it was like to have health anxiety.
Yeah.
I knew what it was like to need someone, to be like a dog with a bone to get that diagnosis. I mean, I thought without doubt I had a brain tumour when I had Thomas. I started getting symptoms. He was born in the April.
Yeah.
Started getting symptoms around the August. Went to my GP, said, oh, I've got tingling in my spine. Well, you've had an epidural. Oh, okay, fine. I'm just feeling a bit sluggish. Pins and needles in my toe.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be the pain relief. Oh, I'm not really sleeping at night. I've got a headache. Well, you are a new mum.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
going to be tired.
Also, in that time when your anxiety would be the highest, your confidence and ability to fight with yourself is probably at one of its lowest.
Yeah.
Like having to keep pushing so much, that must have been exhausting.
It's hard.
I just remember seeing that one doctor thinking, I'm getting nowhere with you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to book another appointment and I'm going to go and see
Good
another
on
doctor.
you.
And I never forget, I sat in front of Dr. T and I said to him, I'm not leaving here without an MRI.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. This
And
is what more patients need to do, is advocate for themselves, right? Good for
100%.
you.
And he said to me, I think you've been a bit melodramatic. You're only 3 months postpartum. You've just had a baby. You're tired. I said, I'm now losing my vision.
Wow.
Well, you're tired. You're not sleeping. I said, it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's more than that. I've lost the vision in my left eye. I said, if I haven't got a brain tumour, there's something else going on. Listen to me. I'm not leaving here without an MRI.
Yeah.
So he did refer me to an MRI. But my beautiful, wonderful parents said, even back then, sort of 18 years ago, you're not going to wait 6 weeks for an MRI. We've got the referral now. We're going to pay for you to go privately. And they did. And the next day I got a call from that GP.
Wow.
And he said, look, it's not what you thought it was, but I do need to have a chat with you. So I was like, right, fine. So he said, can you come after clinic? I said, no. You've got a lunch break.
Yeah.
I'll be there in half an hour.
I love you advocating
Because I
for
just
yourself like
needed
this.
to know.
Yeah,
I knew
There's
myself.
torture leading up to it.
Yeah.
I knew myself when I was going mad, and my mum come with me. There was Thomas in his car seat next to me, and I looked at his screen, and because I knew I could read EMIS, and I said, "Is that what they think I've got?" And he's like, "What?" I said, "They think I've got multiple sclerosis." My mum started crying. Thomas was crying, not because he knew what was going on; he just wanted to feed.
Oh,
He was just
but
ready
it
for
all
milk.
loads on top of your emotions in the
He
moment.
was ready. I was fine though, and until
wow.
this day, I really meant it. I've never cried about having MS.
Really?
No, yeah, really.
Why?
Wow.
That's
Because
amazing.
it had a name, and it was like, I mean, I think I'd definitely have cried if it was a tumour for sure. That happened 7 years later, though. Did you know about that?
No.
Yeah, I got a prolactinoma in
my
my pituitary gland, which was tricking me to think I was pregnant.
Wow.
Which was a 2 millimetre. It's called a prolactinoma, and it's a tumour in your pituitary gland, which they disperse by medicine, tablet form.
Oh, wow.
But at that moment in time, I was just relieved. I was so relieved that it had a name, and I knew from working in the NHS, we've come so far with medicine.
Yeah.
I was going to be all right, and I just knew out of everyone in my family, I've got this.
Yeah. It's almost like knowledge is power. Once it wasn't a mystery anymore, once you had that diagnosis, it's like, okay, I can now take control of the situation a bit more.
Definitely. And it was but it was that moment where and it's, you know, I'm so blessed that I am now an ambassador, an official ambassador for the MS Society.
Amazing.
But the horror stories I hear, the most recent one, actually, 30 years to get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
No.
30 years, you can't even imagine.
No, she absolutely recognises her first symptom was around about the age of 20.
Oh my gosh.
She's now 51.
That's awful.
And just I was in a wheelchair for the first 3 years because I was pretty bad to start with, and I was falling a lot, and then I broke my ankle. That early diagnosis is key. I've been on the most incredible treatment. I'm currently on Ocrevus at the Royal London, and you know, I'm an ambulant wheelchair user now. You know, I'm not in a wheelchair full time. I can move with my stick.
That's amazing.
And it's made such a difference. But it was that moment that made me realise that I will never be an event organiser.
No.
I will be sticking put at the NHS because it was for me. It was my calling.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And what was your journey then after that, moving into heading up the patient experience?
I just remember my chief exec saying to me, I want you to come and work in my department, which was at the time in communications and complaints. So I was a complaints officer. And I could just see the sorts of complaints that were coming through the door, and I was thinking, this shouldn't be happening. These are really little fixes we could be doing if we just paid a little bit more of attention, or we just communicated better between doctors and nurses, or the auxiliary staff and, you know, domestics, whatever. We need to look at the bigger picture. We need to look up, stop what we're doing. We need to look up. We need to stop wasting money. We just need to really think about what we're doing, and we also need to listen to patients. That is key. Absolutely key, because we are all just working on, you know, on this sort of hamster wheel, just doing our jobs, doing our things, when actually the customer, and I don't like the word patient, they're customers. I like them to be treated like customers. They were all the time in my hospital. And there was nothing I couldn't do. And it was from that moment that I went from complaints then into patient experience. So I did my first 10 years in primary care, working with GPs, optometrists, pharmacists and dentists. And then the last 11 was in secondary care, so in an acute trust. A big hospital, and I just really knew that I wanted to change the way people felt about coming into hospital, whether or not you're 2 days old or you're 102. I wanted people to feel like they were coming in, they were being looked after.
That's amazing. And with those complaints where you started, was there the customer, I like calling them customers, the customer feedback, I imagine in the NHS there's a huge volume of customer feedback. What happens to that feedback once it's collated?
So there wasn't much early days, sort of 19, 21 years ago, there wasn't much that happened, but from there I am absolutely I'm going to blow my own trumpet.
Do it, Kerry.
When I started me and my chief nurse, we set up a programme called In Your Shoes. So what we did is every patient that made a complaint, my team would phone them and see if they would be happy to come back into the organisation. And that particular patient would be sat with 2 members of staff that maybe caused them harm, or made them feel like they were less worthy of being there, or was part of their journey in a negative way. Obviously the staff had to agree to this as well, but they would sit there and it would be like a 3-hour session whereby we asked the patient, what could have we done different? What would have been your John Lewis experience? Because back when I did it, they were the leading in customer service. Let's face it, let's not beat around the bush. Patient experience is customer care, right? It is. I was a glorified customer service head of director of customer care, and I just thought, I need to know what would have made your experience different. What would have made you not complain? Look in the whites of their eyes and say, we failed you.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
How can we make it right moving forward? I know we didn't get it right for you. But what would have made a difference? What would have made you not put pen to paper?
Did you ever see a
and
common
complain?
theme in those?
Yeah, all the time. It was communication.
Wow.
People didn't talk to each other. And care, which that one broke my heart, because no one goes into the NHS, whether it be a doctor or a nurse, if you don't care. I mean, cut me open like a stick of rock, and it's got care and compassion in me. I mean,
You can hear it.
You don't do that job if you want to be rich.
No.
You just don't.
Yeah.
You do a different job, which is why it gets me very cross when I hear about these junior doctors going on strike. Because it gets me, it really riles me up. You just don't do it for the money.
Yeah.
You do it because you want to make a difference. You want to change people's lives. And I was saying to you, Harriet, just before we started the podcast, we put so much emphasis into bringing new life into this world. Do you remember, like bounty packs and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I'm really, really passionate about end of life care.
Yeah.
Let's make sure everyone leaves this world as they want to. It's got, what's their dying wish? How can we make it possible? And that's what I did as head of patient experience. If it was your birthday and you was in my trust, we'd have a party.
Yeah.
If it was your 50th anniversary, we would have a diamond wedding anniversary. You'd have a side room and we'd have a lovely time.
That's so wonderful. I think that makes a massive difference. Like, having been, we were saying before we started recording, I've been as an inpatient in hospital numerous times, sometimes for up to 3 months at a time. And it makes such a difference, the quality of the care that you get in terms of how your recovery is going and how you feel mentally as well as physically. I know that I've had some fantastic staff who've been amazing, and I know that I've had some not so fantastic staff. And honestly, it really makes a big difference. I guess one of the things that I was just thinking about in terms of how patients feel heard, which goes back to what you were saying before, do you think patients always feel safe speaking up? Do you think there's situations where actually they probably don't?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So I was a big advocate, my team of 8, because within patient experience, I had the PALS service, so patient advice and liaison. I don't know if you've heard of PALS.
I've used it, yes. Many times.
There's a PALS desk, which essentially a PALS case is an unofficial complaint, really. And I used to always want my team to nip the PALS in the bud. So we would want you to tell us what's going wrong, actually, what's going a bit wonky whilst you're in, because we can put it right whilst you're an inpatient.
Yeah.
So often people do not feel like they've got the courage to do that.
That
so
is
what they
so
do
true.
is they leave the hospital.
Wait until after.
They talk to their neighbour. They talk to their son. They talk to their brother, their sister, the lady on the bus. And all of a sudden it becomes that bit worse.
I think this would be me. Like, we're very different in this, that I'm quite... I feel like guilty or ashamed to have a problem with something. So like if I'm at a restaurant or a hotel and that customer experience isn't right, I'd very rarely say it in the moment. I'd then walk away and feel just a bit disappointed in that experience. I'd probably distance from it, whereas Kelly's the exact opposite. And over the years of, a decade and whatnot of doing life together, many a restaurant, many a whatever, you've taught me firsthand how it is so important to speak up in the moment, and but it's hard to find that confidence for some people. And I think especially when you might be vulnerable in hospital.
Do you know, I remember an experience as well when I was pregnant. So it'd taken me quite a long time to get pregnant with my first daughter. And I had an obstetrician at that point who had kind of helped me through that initial journey. On my first scan appointment, so I must have been maybe 8 weeks, he scanned me. He was making very inappropriate remarks, and as me and my ex-husband left the room, he smacked me on the bum.
No.
And my ex-husband looked. He didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, and we left. But I got really upset, and then I got into the car and started crying. And I was like, I feel really violated because that guy's just obviously like done an internal on me and done an ultrasound. I feel really violated by this. And I said to my ex, why didn't you say anything? He was like, I don't know, you didn't say anything. And I was like, but this is not okay. But normally I'm such an outspoken person.
This is not okay.
What did you do about that?
Yeah. Well, I put it in the complaint notes when Sienna nearly died, because my whole antenatal care was horrendous, and it ended up with her being born without. It's a very long story, but she ended up on life support for the first few weeks of her life, and she very nearly didn't make it. She's fine now. You would never know. A little fighter, but yeah, that it just makes me think, because if somebody like me, who's very much of an advocate for standing up for things being right and okay, I hate injustice, but if I was in that situation and I still couldn't find my voice, it really makes you think about those patients who just feel so vulnerable.
Yeah, you are without doubt, when you're in a hospital setting or a GP setting or any sort of medical setting, you are without doubt your most vulnerable time of your life.
Absolutely.
There is no, I say that, you say it all the time, because I trained staff, so as part of my role as head of patient experience, I was also one of 9 sort of quality and inclusion champions, and I used to fly the flag for disability. I'm obviously disabled myself, and I used to do all of the training to all of the staff and new starters around how to communicate with patients, and I stand by the fact that patient experience is no more difficult than if you was to look at the patient and say, would you be happy for your mother, your brother, your child to receive the care you're administering?
It's really
if you're happy with what you're delivering to your family to receive, then you've hit them. It's no more difficult than that. Patient experience is not rocket science. It's about compassion and what you would be willing to happen to yourself or your loved ones, the most important people in your life. And if that's leaving someone's call buzzer for 30 minutes because they're busting to go to the toilet, and you're happy with that, then okay, that's on you. But that would not be okay with me.
No,
and that for me is a terrible patient experience. We know you're busy, so go back and apologise, etc., etc. But patient experience does not have to be difficult. But I used to always say to people, every patient that's in our hospital, we are so privileged to be treating them.
Oh, that's a lovely way to look at it. Isn't that wonderful?
We are so privileged. Like, they are at their most vulnerable state ever. They are so, there's nothing worse. There's not an anxiety that's worse in the world than health anxiety. And I get it. I knew something was going wrong with me, Nat. But I couldn't see it.
No.
And it frightened the life out of me until I knew. And it was that moment, it was like, okay, that's fine. I'm all right with that.
Wow. And do you think there's an element of the processes and the formality and the pressures that are having a negative impact on that patient experience? Yeah,
to a certain extent, for sure. I feel there's... it's really sad, actually, that you should say that. When I used to speak to the nurses used to be able to nurse. They used to be able to sit down next to a patient and talk about last night's Coronation Street episode, or what happened in, or are they looking forward to watching Emmerdale tonight, etc., or what's going on in the newspaper, in the news. They just don't get the time to do that anymore.
Gosh,
that's so true, actually.
They just don't get the time, and I think it is that red tape stuff. It is that bureaucracy. It's the policy. It's the procedure. They're so worked. They work so incredibly hard. But under my umbrella as well was the volunteers. So I tried to recruit enough volunteers that we had sort of patient buddies that they could go up and around and just sit and read.
Because it's all human, isn't it? I think it's looking at how to inject that humanity back into it. And we were chatting before about COVID and how those black and white rules took away the ability to act as a human for other humans.
COVID for me was why I stepped away from the NHS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. It was, for me, it was those sort of, I will never forget the 20th of March 2020. We just locked down, and all of my friends were painting bedrooms and revamping their children's rooms and watching Bridgerton on repeat. Scott and I, both in the NHS, have never been so busy. We were like ships that passed in the night. Every time we left the house, we had to wear our lanyard, our work badges. Then we got told by work, actually, don't wear your lanyards because people are stopping you at traffic lights. They're pulling them off from around your neck, and they're taking... Because we got told to stay indoors, didn't we?
That's terrifying.
Oh, it was absolutely terrible. And then I think what upset me the absolute most was hearing the pots and pans on a Thursday night. It felt so... I know that everyone wanted to do something, but it wasn't... It was just a scary time, and for me it was like, oh God, don't... I just wanted to forget actually that I worked for the NHS.
That's really interesting.
I didn't want that... And you could hear it all around Dunmo. People used to come onto there... And you used to think, just before EastEnders started or something on a Thursday at 8, you'd hear it back and be like, oh yeah, no, thanks. Trust me, I know, I work there.
Oh God, it's like that Sunday blues, isn't it? Where you're switching off, watching something on TV. I mean,
it was like, don't remind me.
Yeah.
Oh, bless
And
you.
it sounds so selfish to say that, but
No,
it
it
just
doesn't.
wasn't. It just felt different. It didn't do, I don't think,
Yeah.
what. I get why people wanted to do it,
Yeah.
and the sentiment behind it was, of course, incredible. But at that moment in time, it was like a horror. We were
Yeah.
living a horror.
Yeah.
My husband, because he worked in theatres, was coming in, and we would shut the hallway. He would put everything on the floor.
Oh
I
my
would then.
gosh.
He would then put it all in the washing machine. I would then he'd go then straight into the shower. I'd then put it on a hot wash.
And also having that in your home, that feels
Vulnerable.
Yeah, isn't it?
invasive almost. Yeah.
It felt really vulnerable, and it was a really, really scary time. And then I got told that my office was going to be converted into sort of a namaste room for staff to go and sit with a chaplain and just talk about how they're feeling, how they're struggling. And then that didn't happen, sadly. It was made into wash basins for more hand washing, etc. So we lost the PALS desk at the front entrance.
Gosh.
And all of a sudden, my team wasn't in the building anymore. And I remember me saying, we need patient experience now more than ever.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Your wings
than
were
ever.
clipped in the most
Yeah.
important time.
And that I say that a lot. My wings were clipped, and from someone that I couldn't, like, I would do anything for
Yeah.
my patients. A dying wish of a patient was that every day he always had a Mackerson. Like, I think it's like an owl or a Guinness or something like that, this Mackerson's beer. And his wife said he just wants his Mackerson, but his end of life, I don't suppose I can have it in the hospital, can I? I said, of course you can.
I love
Got my team, got Jenny over at Sainsbury's, and she
I've
got
got
4
goosebumps.
tins. Of course he has the Mackersons. He's dying. The man's dying. If you had it at home, you're going to have it in the hospital. Like, of course you
how
can.
wonderful.
That's the stuff I used to be
Yeah.
able to do.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it no more.
Oh my gosh.
I had patients, that one particular guy, and this really broke my heart. He needed to have a procedure at UCLH, but he wasn't strong enough to do the ambulance transfer. If you're not medically fit to transfer, you won't be being transferred.
Yeah.
And he needed to eat in order to do that. But like his wife said, they hadn't had a meal apart for 72 years.
Oh my god.
So I remember saying to my senior team, can she come in and eat with him?
Yeah.
One of the meal times, even his breakfast or lunch. No, sorry, Kerry. NHS England said no visitors. He never made it. He never made it.
Oh, that's so
That's
sad.
really sad. That's really sad.
Yeah.
It just takes the humanity out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
And
it's terrible.
And God, I didn't expect to get upset.
Oh,
Okay.
it's understandable
It's- yeah.
though. Like
Yeah.
the amount that you care and the amount that you've taken upon yourself personally, this huge responsibility to
Yeah.
improve the customer experience, yes, but improve the quality of life
Yeah.
for patients
Yeah.
when they were in that vulnerable moment in your care. And when you are trying to do that, but it's being made more and more impossible.
Definitely. You know, and as much as we didn't want, we made a pledge that no one would die alone. We absolutely made
That's
a pledge
amazing.
that no one would die alone. And whilst loved ones couldn't be with them, a nurse would be with every single patient that's, took their last breath. We also did a message to a loved one. So, for instance, if you had like a nanny or a granddad or a mum or dad in hospital, and the grandchild or the child wanted to write a letter or do a picture, they would deliver it to my office, and then my team would go and deliver it onto the ward. We'd do lots of FaceTimes as well. That was emotional for my team as well, because a lot of the time they were putting they were putting a iPad in front of a ventilated sleeping patient.
Oh gosh.
So my team was sort of saying, "Oh, we can hear you, his eyes are flickering," or "We squeezed my hand."
Oh my god.
Massive responsibility. And I just don't think people, and for me it was
That
just,
chokes me up.
yeah, it was tough.
And dealing with this on a
really
day-to-day
hard.
basis.
Yeah.
We then, there was so much going on, and people were becoming very sort of tachycardic. People were getting very swollen when they were in intensive care, and we had lots and lots of missing property, because, of course, when the nurses are saving a patient's life, they are just pulling off rings, they are removing necklaces, they're getting earrings out of their ears, and there was a lot of property that needed to be repatriated with people, and that was another job of mine, and I never forget it. It was a real eureka moment, and until this day I'm really proud. There was hundreds and hundreds of rings and mobile phones, wallets, necklaces, and this particular lady, she said, "Oh, I'm really not happy about my husband going to be buried without this ring. He'd never took it off." And I was like, "The funeral's today. What am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. This is not okay. I feel sick about this. I need to find it." So I did one last call to the ward, and I never forget this young lady had been on 2 weeks leave, right? And I said, oh, look, have you got Mr. So-and-so's? I know you cared for him until he took his last breath. It was your final shift before you went away. Do you know where it was? And she went, I do. I said, because it never made its way down to the... I said, I've been to the general office. It wasn't put in a proper bag. She went, I just didn't have time. She said it was crazy. And I said, no, I get it. I hear you. Where is it? She went, come with me. So I went to the ward, went with her. She'd put it in a plant pot. By his bed. I mean, listen, it's not okay. It wasn't looked after.
No.
But she went
Did
like
what
that.
she could in the moment.
Yeah. And it was literally on. It was in a plant pot. There was the plant, and she'd had it on the soil.
Wow.
And she just went. I don't know what made her remember she had it, but she did.
Yeah.
And we actually got the ring sent to the funeral director. Yeah, Daniel Robinson's took the ring.
Gosh,
Those
that's
achievement moments.
Oh, they're massive.
Yeah.
But what it is as well is that personal touch.
It is, yeah.
And it's what makes the NHS so special. And I do believe, and I'm going to blow my own trumpet, it's those personal touches, that nurse that knew where she'd put it because she cared for him, that continuity of care, the people like me that did it, that cared with every fibre of it. We're going to lose that now.
Yeah.
Because the NHS is broken.
Yeah.
And it's not a fun place to work anymore. I never thought I'd leave. Never.
Wow.
Never. I thought I would do it forever.
And what do you think is needed to improve that now? It's a big question.
Another podcast, right?
Probably, yeah. Actually, yeah. I worry about my staff. The staff that are still there now. There is the waiting lists are through the roof.
Yeah.
The funding.
Yeah.
The support. I think that holistic support. My lot were so. I tried my everything to make them feel cared for, and I don't know, that personal touch. Flexibility. I think is also really key. My workforce. If they wanted to do a 9-day fortnight, you do a 9-day fortnight. If you wanted to do a 4-day week, you do a 4-day week. If you want to come in at 4 and leave, if you want to come in at 8 and leave at 4, you do that. Like if you want to work from home, just that real understanding. But I think we've got too far at the moment with the NHS and how the waiting lists. I don't think there's that flexibility anymore.
Yeah.
I think we need to make it also really. Something needs to happen with regards to recruiting nurses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think never has it been so. People don't want to be a nurse anymore because I think frankly it's less hassle and probably better pay to go and work in a supermarket.
Flexibility is a really interesting one, hearing you mention that, because it's absolutely huge. And in an environment with as much pressure as the NHS has, like, we know how important flexibility is from a work-life balance point of view, and individuals feeling motivated, and the statistics behind actually individuals taking their life in because of a work situation and that being reduced if there's flexibility there. That's huge. And for that to not apply in such a high pressure environment is massive.
I mean, I was really passionate about that work-life balance, being flexible with my staff. Nothing was too much trouble. You put in a reasonable working adjustment. We'll have a chat about it. We'll have a meeting on Tuesday morning, or we'll have we'll go and get a Costa and we'll have a chat, see if we can make it work. I absolutely know that I'm going to get the best from my staff if they're in a happy place.
Exactly, it's so true. But most people just don't think like that when they're in positions of leadership, and I think that is definitely something that the world can improve on.
It doesn't happen in the NHS.
No,
I really felt like, I really did feel like the outlier.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Because, and I don't know if it's because, of course I cared a lot about the numbers and the figures and the waiting lists, but I absolutely know the only thing that was going to get those down is if my staff were took care of. Because if they go off sick, what happens to those waiting lists then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I would sit at board a lot of the time with very senior members of the trust board as well as the non-exec directors, and I know I did things differently, and I'm okay about that. But during COVID, you couldn't. You just felt like you couldn't do things different.
Yeah.
And it was a really, really, really sad time, and I never ever forget as well. And we put on, and I feel like in the NHS as well, you put a lot on the admin staff of the smaller bands.
Yeah.
So I never forget my director of operations come in and said, look, is the doctor strike going to happen? We're going to need to cancel this neurology clinic. Well, neurology is close to my heart.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was that neurology clinic that diagnosed me properly. I mean, my GP told me what he thought I had, but it's only when you see that neurologist that they say, yes, we can confirm that's a diagnosis. Yeah. And we had to cancel this double clinic. So it was a morning and an afternoon on a Monday. On a Tuesday, it was a Monday, she was coming in to say it was going to be cancelled for tomorrow. And I said, that's not okay. She said, no, but we haven't got a neurologist to do that. I said, and who's going to be phoning these patients? She said, I'm going to get the bookers too. Are band 2 bookers.
Wow.
That's the lowest banding you can possibly work on in the NHS. And you are phoning people that have come out of COVID, probably had loads of other appointments cancelled. I looked at one particular appointment, she'd waited 2 years for it.
Oh, stop.
And we were going to tell her the next day that actually that wasn't going to be going ahead now because of a doctor's strike.
Yeah.
I said, forget it, I'm going to make all of the calls.
Oh. Yeah.
I won't have it. And I probably sat there and made, must be 40, 45, 50 calls to every single patient. And I told them how it was. We didn't need to dress it up.
No.
We had to be honest.
It's that human connection in that moment.
For sure.
Yeah.
We found people throughout that period of time. And what makes me sad, and the reason why I never went back, is because I think we continue. I say we, like I'm still there, but I think the NHS still continues to fail people.
I would
actually
absolutely agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. In fact, it was interesting. So I was talking to a lady who'd had a similar kind of background as you. So she was a sister, but then she'd been in the NHS for years, and then she decided to leave. And she was saying, she made a really bold statement, and she said, I don't believe that the NHS needs any more funding. I think everything that's wrong with it is a cultural issue. And that just blew my mind, because everything that I'd been conditioned to talk about and understand about the NHS was the NHS needs more money, but it obviously is so much more complex than that.
Yeah, it is.
What role do you think culture plays in patient experience, and how can that be improved?
It's everything. It is absolutely everything. So I wanted, under my umbrella, to look after staff experience as well. But it was just a too big a job. So there was a head of patient experience and a head of staff experience. And we used to work quite closely. But even that head of staff experience, they worked in HR. And it was quite a HR-y type.
Yeah.
You can feel like your wings are a bit clipped, I think, when you're in HR.
Yeah.
And I feel like there needed to be more of a sort of holistic approach, like both needed to, because I think what you can't do is if you haven't got happy staff, you haven't got happy patients.
No.
Yeah.
So I feel like we almost needed to be the patient experience and staff experience team as one.
Yeah.
That never come into fruition. I was hoping it was going to, but then obviously we locked down in COVID. The cultural issues, so there's values, trust values. I was really, really big on our values, did lots of values training.
That's music to my ears. I love that.
Yeah.
And my values were everything. I had 4 values, and they were all underpinned by other little subsections from them as well.
Wow,
and
that's
it was so important. And we had this
Yeah.
board game, and it was a values board game you could play. So you had to sort of think of a patient where you treat them with
that's lovely.
care, dignity,
Yeah.
compassion. And it was a really good one. And again, that was my brainchild. I loved it.
Yeah.
But what I didn't have is I just didn't have at that time the engagement from the walls.
Yeah.
And I was so fed up of people saying, when are we going to find time to do that?
Gosh, that's so hard. Is there anything that gives you hope for the future?
For the NHS?
Yeah.
This is a really hard one to answer, isn't it?
I can't see the wood for the trees at the moment.
Yeah.
I
I
agree
think
with you.
it's super broken. If I felt I could still make a difference, I'd be there.
Wow.
I'd be there with bells and whistles on.
Yeah.
I feel like at the moment I need to do something. I almost want to do something, to go around as a self-employed external person to go and rejuvenate patient
Shake things
experience
up
in
a little
people's
bit.
lives.
You could be a consultant doing that. I think you'd be fantastic doing that.
I'm not sure I can now. I've been in Big Brother, but I care. That's a crazy lady off the telly, but I care so much, and I do feel like sometimes you need outside eyes.
Yeah. To go in and shake it up a bit.
A little bit,
And
yeah, I
make a
do
difference.
think that. Because I feel at the moment we've got some very archaic views.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we are trying to keep doing that. If I heard, when I come over my hospital that I started in, if I heard one more person say to me, historically, we used to do it like this. Well, I'm new
We're
to
not
this.
in history now.
Well, I'm new to this gaff.
We're
and we don't
rewriting
look
the
back.
book, goddammit.
I said it to my team, and God rest her soul, she's not with us now. One of my members of staff sadly passed away quite recently. But I remember saying to her, listen, We don't look back, we look forward.
Yeah.
I love that.
This is Kez's reign now,
Yeah.
so we're not going to go with the old
Yeah.
girl, that used to be here. This is how we're going to do it.
Change is scary, isn't it?
Oh,
Change is different.
Oh,
and
it is like
but
moving
you
an oil
need
tanker.
change
Yeah.
to have a positive impact.
Yeah, and in the NHS, it is honestly like moving mountains.
Yeah.
You need everyone you need everyone engaged, and I did so well to get the doctors, the nurses, the surgeons, the porters. We did this wonderful video, I Am Patient Experience, because I never forget the first day I started in the trust. I said I did my training. And I got in the lift and I didn't know where I was going. This hospital was massive, and I got in and I said to this lady that was in a wheelchair, and there was a porter behind her, Frank. He won't mind me saying his name. He's amazing, and he was holding on. And I said to her, "You're all right?" She went, "Oh no." She went, "I'm not really all right." She said, "I'm really really worried about a scan that I'm going to." And Frank had his arm on her shoulder, and he said, "You're," and he really spoke to her lovely. And I said, "And who are you?" And he went, "Oh, I'm just a porter."
Oh, I've got goosebumps.
Right.
Well done, Frank.
I was like, no one's just anyone in this place. No one. And she said, she went like that on his hand because he was on it. She went, "You're not just a porter. You're the only one here today that's put my mind at rest to get me in."
Oh,
and all he did was
isn't
walk
that
her.
amazing?
All he did was walk her to the ward to
But
her
he was
scan.
a human. He had that human connection, and that's what people miss. Like you need to feel like we all care for each other. We're the same species, and it's it is amazing in comparison to other countries that we have free healthcare to support everyone, but we can so easily all get wrapped up in that stress and the pressure and the demands. But just remembering to stop and be human is everything. And Frank was the best thing in that lady's day.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. She wouldn't have got in that scanner without Frank. She said, "You're the only thing that made me get into that scanner." So, and I wrote him an email after, and I said, "Don't ever say that again. No one is just anyone in this hospital." Because when I got there, what I did realise is quite hierarchical in a hospital.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to curtsy around anyone with a white coat, or that happens to be a surgeon, or that goes into the canteen with a stethoscope round their neck. No, not on my watch.
Yeah.
I don't care if you are a volunteer, if you are a booker, if you are a porter, or you are the cleaner. We will all treat each other like we are the chief exec.
I love this. You're a KVA through and through.
Yeah,
do you know that?
literally,
Everything
this
you say,
sounds
I'm
just
like,
We will all treat each other like we're the chief exec queen. So don't be telling me that you're only a porter. Like, that's just not on my watch. I'm sorry. And it was, and it took 11 years to really move that. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then lots of our lower paid staff, the band 2s and 3s, were probably at an age where they just thought, I don't need this.
Yeah.
I don't need to put my life at risk for £11,000 a year, £14,000 a year. I don't need it. And we lost a lot of those good eggs.
Yeah. So what if you could fix the NHS with 3 things? What would those 3 things be?
Culture, then values, values, standards, and behaviours. Values are nothing standalone.
Yeah.
You need the behaviours underneath to underpin it, and also a lot more talking from. I'd love the government to go and see what it's really like on the shop floor.
Yeah.
I think we should
Stand
inspire
in
this.
your
I think this
shoes.
should happen. How
I
do we
mean,
make
really,
this happen?
well, I don't know.
We
I
need
don't
to-
know what they're doing at the moment, if I'm completely honest with you. But right now, when I hear Wes Streeting talk about the NHS, talking about cutting cancer waiting times, and that's brilliant. Of course we all want that. Of course we want 75. This morning I was saying, of course we want 75% of people to live forever and be cured of cancer. Of course we do. But how are you going to do that?
Yeah, it's the action bit that's missing, right?
Because right now, there's probably 30,000 appointments still waiting for their first appointments.
Yeah.
It's words.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
Go and sit with the bookers. Go and look at those clinics. We also have, there's a huge amount of wastage as well, in the sense that, double bookings. I mean, what people don't understand is, well, communication.
Yeah.
Patients turn up for a clinic, but actually that doctor's on leave.
Yeah.
I know,
And
it's
it
so
blew
true.
my mind, the communication piece. So, I don't know, 9-ish months ago, I had a miscarriage. So I didn't know that I'd miscarried. I thought I was still pregnant, and then had to have a operation to fix everything. And 3 appointments afterwards for all the different intervals of my scans I should have had, I had calls asking where I was and why I hadn't turned up. But each time, and they knew from when it originally happened. And it's that communication piece and the systems, and obviously data and technology can be quite a unsexy topic, even though I think it's sexy. I think a lot of the infrastructure technically could improve to save a lot of time. Like if you think about those midwives' time waiting for my appointment, me holding that appointment someone else could have had, and then the time calling me up, seeing where I was. It's
unforgivable is what that is. It's really poor admin. There's no excuse for that. You'd lost your baby, of course you're not going to need to come to your next appointment. It's unforgivable. And that for me, I just wouldn't, I couldn't allow it to happen anymore. And I just needed to meet with everyone. So culture, I think, is a big thing. Communication needs to improve in the NHS massively. Possibly leadership, actually. I feel like certainly you need to get everybody on board with you. It probably comes under culture, let's be honest, but
it starts from the top.
It really does. Money. So my trust was an old trust. Of course, it needs new money, but my trust didn't need patching together. My trust needed a new hospital. It needed a full-on rebuild, which Boris did promise them. Actually, my old trust when he was when the Conservatives were in power, it doesn't like. I don't know. I'm sure it will happen eventually, but it doesn't look like it's happening at the moment. That's okay, but then you need the staff to run it. And then you need to make sure you've got enough staff to run it, because what you can't do is the staff you've got. You know, when I hear the government talking about we're going to put on, I don't know, however many X amount, 30,000 extra clinics. How are you going to do that? Because your staff are telling you at the moment they are running on empty.
Definitely.
So people they're going to start missing things. They're human as well, and I was very aware of that when I was responding to complaints. Very aware of that. You know, of course, you know, complaints were never as blatantly obvious as, you know, I went in to have my leg amputated, the left one, but actually you amputated the right. They were never that cut and dry. A lot of the time when we was doing complaints investigations, it was really sort of, some of the time there was just that human error. And actually what we don't want is for that to creep in even more, because people are just tired. That's scary.
Do you know that links to, so I remember being an inpatient, I was having an ulcerative colitis flare up, and I was being given steroid IV, and I just had a shot that had been put on my charts at the end of the bed. Luckily my mum was with me at the time. Someone else came on shift. First thing they normally do is check the chart. For some reason they didn't, and they came over and they started going to inject, and my mum happened to say, what are you giving Kelly? Does she need something? Oh, we're giving her steroids. Mum said, well, she's just had them. Oh no, don't think she has. Mum was like, yes, check her chart, she's just had them. And the lady was like, I'm so sorry, oh my God, I was just about to, and she choked up and she was like, I'm so sorry, I'm just so tired, I just didn't realise. And afterwards I said, what would have happened if you'd have given me them? And she said that could have actually caused such a serious reaction in my body, it could have stopped my heart. And I was like, oh my God, that's really scary. And if that had been me in the middle of the night, there's my arm, I'm fast asleep, and they just come and they do it automatically, and I just feel them sort of fiddling with my arm. I can't even advocate for myself because I'm asleep. Like,
what blows my mind is it's so interesting hearing everything you're talking through, and thank you so much. It's so evident that the problems are the same that you'd have in any business, but the stakes are so much higher. So when you talk about resourcing, like at KVA, I am such a strong believer of don't push your team to the brink, because the quality will drop, because you're human error and it's tired, you're trying to do too much in too short a time. The quality dropping in KVA is very different to the NHS and the results that can have. The culture is have a flat hierarchy where everyone feels empowered and heard and valued and like an individual, and they'll be happier, they'll do better work. It's the same. And each point is the same. It's a business, and I feel like just how you have different businesses with different cultures and different leaders, that almost exactly as you said completely needs to change from a culture and a leadership point of view potentially.
It does.
Then are we even describing a privatised system? I mean, if we look at how healthcare is run in the US, and I'm not saying that by any stretch is great, because it's not, but if we look at that, obviously that is run as a commercial business. And so are we saying by that actually we would be better in the UK if we did have a privatised system?
I think that's a scary place to go. I've always said, so I don't believe secondary care should be chargeable, but I have always said, it's quite controversial, since the days I worked in primary care, the first 10 years, you should have to pay £15 or £20 for a doctor's appointment. And I mean that. And I'll tell you why I mean that. My doctor's surgery alone had 174 DNAs did not attend appointments last month.
In a month?
In a month, right? So actually, was equivalent to like something like one full-time equivalent doctor over a 2-week period.
Oh, that's crazy.
Would you not go if you had to pay £20?
Yeah.
Also, it's a place to start, isn't it? It's a place to start, and then you can see the data, and I'm sure there's a system you can put in place where that doesn't count for a certain demographic that would need extra support.
Of course.
But it's a place to start that reduces
of course
oh my gosh.
It's a much bigger conversation.
Yeah.
But I do truly believe that something needs to happen in primary care because again, so not only would you have DNAs, you'd also get, we would absolutely know that on a Thursday, we'd have the same people sitting having their doctor's appointments. Back in the day when you used to be able to get an appointment and pick up the phone, but it was a bit of a mother's meeting, and actually that certain older people would go on a Thursday morning just to go and have a chat with their GP, and then they'd go and have a cup of tea after.
Those were the days.
It might stop those things happening, but and again, when I say I really thought I'd be in the NHS forever, I really did, but I've seen it. And I was only there for 21 years, but I've seen it go from picking up the phone and being able to say to the receptionist, can I have an appointment please today? Oh no, that time's not, I won't be there for that, I'm on the school run. Got anything about 10 o'clock? And get it.
Yeah.
Now you can't even pick up the phone. And complaints and patient experience is really where my passion is, and that cultural shift, that the values, the standards, the behaviours, because when you get it wrong in the NHS, like you said, it's not just getting a mouldy cucumber in your online shop. Someone comes and then you can turn around and say, well, actually, I'll refund you in the next 3 to 5 days. Sorry about that.
Although I got a triple order of pomegranate this week.
Oh, lucky you.
2 of my fruit items were out of stock. They substituted them with pomegranate. I already had a pomegranate. I'm talking the pot, so I now have 3 pots of pomegranate. I mean, the stakes are higher than that, but I was not happy with that much pomegranate.
But frankly, but what could we give you in the NHS if we didn't have your pomegranate? Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's such a bigger concern in the NHS. You can't just say, really sorry about that cucumber, really sorry about the pomegranate.
No.
We'll refund you.
There's no
it's
refunds.
Just we're talking life or death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about making a difference. I used to always say, patient choice is massive. You can pretty much get Choose and Book come in many years ago now. It's been around for about 20, 30 years. You can choose really where you want to be seen around the country. So why aren't we making ourselves more likeable?
Yeah.
I want you to choose my hospital.
Yeah.
Because I think we're the nuts.
Yeah. Love that.
I want you to come to me. I want you to be like, I don't want to go anywhere else other than, and I'll say hospital. That's where I want to go because I know I'm going to get the exceptional patient care.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be treated like I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be listened to.
Yeah.
It's amazing the difference it makes because, Kelly, bless you, one of the strongest women I know, the health challenges that you've endured, can't talk, when you've had flares with your UC or your blocked bowel issues, multiple times I've been with you, and because, we like to be out and about, we've been in different counties when things have flared. We've been in Oxfordshire, we've been in London, Buckinghamshire, and
Vegas.
the instant abroad, the instant reaction you have based on what county you're in and what hospital you'll go to is so interesting to me. Because when we were away in Oxfordshire and an ambulance came, bless your heart, I'm sorry, you were over the moon at the hospital you were then going to.
I was
versus
to the JR, John Radcliffe, and I was like, yes, thank God. Whereas when I turn up in Stoke Mandeville, which is my local, or Watford General, which is where I had the issues historically with my daughter, I go into panic. But actually, when I'm in London and I get something happen, I go, thank God. I've got Chelsea and Westminster. And I'll say to the Uber driver, get me to a decent NHS hospital. Because the quality is so wildly different between one hospital and another.
Shouldn't be like that.
And it should, and exactly, and it comes back to you saying about that continuity of care. It shouldn't be like that.
And I also think as well, of course it's important to start looking and getting leaders in because they're good at certain things or whatever qualities is that they're looking for, but let's start looking for other stuff because what we've got at the moment isn't working.
Yeah.
So true.
Let's start I was definitely the only person on my trust board at board meetings every Thursday that spoke like I did. But do you know what? There was not, and I was okay about that. I got massive imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Massively.
no, power to you. That's so inspirational.
Massive imposter
I love
syndrome.
that.
But do you know what? There was not a better head of patient experience in this country ever. And I'm yet to meet them.
I love this about you.
Wonderful.
No one cared. No one cared for patients as much as I did.
Yeah.
No.
And it took a lot for me to walk away. Like I said, it just started with a career break, and then I realised that actually I need to look after myself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your
Because you
time
need to
now,
be a
isn't
little
it?
bit selfish with these things. And I had shingles lasted for about 4 months actually, because I wasn't sleeping at night. You know, let's not beat around the bush. As head of patient experience, you might have 3 families that all need an operation, but there's only 1 ITU bed.
Yeah.
The doctor isn't the one that goes to speak to the 2 that aren't getting it.
Yeah.
He goes to sort of get ready the person that's going to surgery.
Yeah.
I'm on the phone to the ones that aren't going.
Yeah.
Did you?
And I didn't sleep at night.
Did you discover any coping mechanisms that helped you? Because that is a bucket load of stress to be on your shoulders
100%.
every day.
Yeah, it is. No, not really. I wanted to. I did lots of talking therapy. I manifest. I do lots of affirmations.
Yes,
but
that's
that's not something that I got offered through the NHS.
No.
That's me being the sort of person that I am. And then I never. And so that was one in particular that I thought, you know, and what really sent me over there as well was seeing how mental health services for children needed so much help.
Yeah.
There was, you know, a particular young lady with an eating disorder, and I was staggered by the lack of mental health provision there was for adolescents. Wow. And I just thought, I'm not sleeping at night as it is, and I felt I was carrying this weight, and no one would really check in on me.
Yeah.
I didn't need hand holding. But when I look back now, I think that when you ask someone, are you all right, you need to ask it 2 or 3 times.
Oh,
because everyone's just got that
default,
bounce. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm
I'm
fine.
good. Yeah, I'm
Also,
okay.
when you're trying to carry so many other people, it's so easy just to have your suit of armour on and be like, yeah, no, I'm fine, I'm the strong one.
Yeah,
Whereas inside, you're carrying the weight of the world.
My team were amazing. My team always used to say, I think you need some time, you know, like I think, you know, that was a lot. But yeah, I feel like that there's something not working at that top level for me in the NHS.
Yeah.
And I think
Big
that it could be easier. It could be easier. What they, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be about money.
No.
Yeah.
It could definitely be about saying, let's just be human about this.
Yeah.
Let's talk and listen to the people that matter. And that's what I do as well now as a disability advocate. You know, I try to raise awareness for people that haven't got a voice, and that again was one of the reasons why obviously I did what I did, because I just knew that not everyone was going to be like a dog with a bone. And what if you didn't have family? What if you didn't have no one to advocate for you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I needed to be that role.
Yeah.
You needed to speak to me. Like I wanted people to come to me if they were genuinely struggling, if they needed that, you know, that grit, that, you know, let's we're in this together sort of thing, because you can feel so isolated when you are and you can feel crazy.
Yeah.
You can feel like you're going mad, and if you haven't got the right consultant in front of you as well, they can also make you feel like you're going mad.
Oh yes. That's very true. Very true.
And you know, just for someone outside of the medical realm, such as myself, that, you know, I'm not a clinician. I used to call myself an honorary nurse, and my lovely chief nurse at the time, I adore her, Nancy. She always say, you know, you are literally an honorary nurse. I'm not grown up enough for that, but I think you did need someone outside of. You needed someone out of that medical profession, like
to focus on the human rather than
my
the science.
team, to sort of, you know, just put your hand on you and just sort of say, you know, you're going to be all right.
Yeah,
we are listening.
Yeah,
we do believe you.
Yeah,
we don't think you're going crazy.
Yeah,
we're in it with you.
And you know, no one knows your body like you do.
It's so true. Yeah,
you always say that.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah,
no one knows that.
Kerry, thank you so much. We could sit and talk to you for hours and hours.
Days and days.
and honestly, not just thank you for being on the show today, but also just thank you for everything that you've done for people. You have a heart of gold. It's people like you who are really making a difference in the world, and there's not enough of them. So well done you for everything that you've achieved, everything that you've done personally, professionally. You should be so proud of yourself, and we're proud to have you on the show today.
Oh, it's an inspiration.
No,
Very
honestly.
grateful. You're amazing. Well, that wraps up this week's episode with the incredible Kerry Riches. Wasn't she amazing?
She was. I feel like incredible isn't a big enough word to describe that woman. Like, she's everything that the NHS needs. Like, she really is.
Yeah. And what struck me so much is how the NHS and the problems it has are the same problems so many other businesses have.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks that the solution to the NHS is funding and that money's the barrier.
Yeah.
But I actually think the barrier and the main challenge they have for change is culture.
Yeah, absolutely. It's culture, it's leadership change, it's emotional intelligence at work. You know, there's all this talk about AI all the time. Why aren't we talking about EI, emotional intelligence? That is so important.
It is.
And that is going to make a huge difference to people on the ground, but most importantly to patients, or as Kerry described them, customers, which I love.
And I loved her Big Brother insights.
Yeah,
I think we need to get more of them.
We do, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed it too.
And if you did, your support is so greatly appreciated. If you loved today's episode, please do like and share and comment. Send us in your stories. If you want to collaborate or get involved in any way, then please do. You can DM us at Health Applied Podcast or email us at hello@healthapplied.co.uk. Thank you.
Until next time.
Onwards and upwards.